argumentation theory, I'm not going to dive into it, but I'll tell you one thing. When I went through my PhD program, I had, when I finished defending my first proposal, I was told, forget it, we flunked you. And so I, of course, went back to my professors and begged and asked, okay, so what did I do wrong? Tell me what did I do wrong? And they said, don't worry, we flunk everyone. We just, the ones who ask, we let them continue. So we'll tell you what you need to do. What you need to do is you got to come in and essentially go through a course called Argumentation Theory in the law school. And that was one of the best courses I took. If you're ever interested, go and take Argumentation Theory course from the law school, because they teach you how to build up the argument towards an area of achieving some kind of an argument. Okay, so you have some data and claims and warrants. I'm not going to go into it, and we wrote it in the paper, in the 2006 paper. It's in there, so you can go into it. The idea is to use argumentation theory when you come in sticky situations with your professor. Okay? So if you're a doctoral student or you know doctoral students, the idea is to really base your arguments, not just come to the professor and tell the professor, I don't like what you say. Okay? The idea is to come and say, I don't think that what you said is accurate in this context, because here are two other references that argue against it, and I think they might be valid in this case. So the issue here is, how do you argue like lawyers, right? And so there is a lot of analogy between PhD process and a marriage. I'm not going to go into this. You can see in here regarding the length of the relationship and what you get out of it and things like that. These are very interesting relationships when we go through that. The inequality is a big problem for schools, okay? And some departments are very known for having nasty professors, okay, who treat their PhD students really nasty. And it's all over the internet now, right? We have Google review. My daughter the other day said, you know, this dentist is really bad. I'm going to go on Google review. And so for them, everything goes into the public domain immediately, right? And so we need to watch it out also as professors. Coming back, I want to jump quickly into some of the relationship issues, and I was referring to the PhD Bill of Rights that Schniederjans wrote. I recommend you guys to look into. I want to jump quickly into some of the consequences when it happens, inequalities. And some of the consequences are that some professors think that they're ninjas, by the way. They think they are, right? But the issue is that some students will sue back. As a matter of fact, Mark Schniederjans was involved in a couple of lawsuits as a subject matter expert because of the paper he wrote in my journal. He was invited by a couple of lawyers who Googled PhD and rights and stuff like that. They got into the paper and they invited him. He got very nice money. I didn't get a penny out of it. But he was nice enough to share all the information with me. There was a student in the New England area, one of the famous schools. She was flunked from the PhD program, and her professor actually took her idea, submitted it as an NSF grant, won the grant, and he kicked her out of the PhD program, and she received a large sum of money as a process. So there is a lot of litigations and legal issues that goes behind inequity when we come to treating students. I'm out of time here. I'm very short on time, and I want to jump directly into some of the cases because I think the cases can emphasize what we see in real life. The first one is the too busy dissertation chair. Those chairs who are traveling all over the world, they go to conferences in Montreal, and this, and there, you know, they have no time to deal with doctoral students. They're just too busy. So the students need to understand how to, first of all, they need to know that person in advance. They need to take courses with them during coursework or ask and know what's going on. The professor needs to dedicate time. Okay, I was answering my doctoral students yesterday on Sunday on email because I knew I'm going to be busy with the conference. Okay, you need to understand. I have two doctoral students who are doing their data analysis now, and for them it's a crucial time. They're waiting for feedback. They're like, you know, cutting their nails from stress. I know, but I care. Some other professors don't, and that's the issue, okay? That's what we're talking about. So the student needs to understand how to communicate professionally, in an argumentative way, properly, in a professional way. The professor needs to treat the students properly. The other one is the non-legible and unfocused feedback from a dissertation chair. We had students who are getting handwriting notes from the professors about comments, cursive English, where the student is, English is the second language, they couldn't barely read what it says there. There are ways to address that, but you need to understand, again, how to deal with that. You can either ask the professor to write the comments digitally. Some of them will do it if you ask, okay? Some of them will not. Will say, that's what I can do. So you need to deal with that, but you got to understand who you're dealing with before you're getting into the relationship. It's like marriage, right? Same thing. The loss of dissertation member or dissertation chair. We had students who their chair either moved to another school, resigned, or for other reasons no longer available to work with that student. You need to understand how to deal with that. Part of this, it has to do with the school itself. You need to go to the program and request them to help you. Okay, you need to maybe communicate, inform other professors in the same school that what happened, and you're looking around and you need help. And these are areas that you can communicate with, of course. No posting of help. Some professors just don't provide help, okay, after the students graduate. Okay, so the idea is that you get your degree and you're away from me and I don't want to see you anymore. And some professors do that, okay? I'm finishing. Some professors just don't want to deal with you. When you're done, I don't want to see you anymore. And the idea is that this is a relationship, okay? You really need to build it up and nurture in a way. I have doctoral students who I keep on working with. We're communicating regularly. I help them get jobs. They serve as reviewers for my journal. You know, it's a symbiotic process. The idea is to work it out both ways. Okay? And so, how do you deal with getting the right person and working it out? You need to get experience through coursework. You need to read what these individuals write. We have a common thing in our school where doctoral students come to work with us and they have never read what we publish. I mean, it's ridiculous. Do you know what I wrote in the paper in 2005? No, I'm just proposing exactly the same thing, right? So go and read what we do. We're researchers. We write. We publish, right? For chairs, the overall idea, and I know there are a couple of dissertation chairs in here, we need to be more equal in the way we treat the students, not in terms of rank or seniority, in terms of human being, in terms of treating the students like the issue of communication. We know they're waiting for an email answer, right? Sometimes it's an issue like we have a system that we need to answer. I try to tell students, listen, I'm on the travel. I'm not going to have access to the system. It takes me longer. Email me or text me, SMS. I'll answer you quickly if you have an answer. So it's an issue of how you deal with the students. And I'm out of breath.
And out of time. We've got about 5 minutes for questions. So, any questions for Dr. Levy?
And I think that what it has to do when it comes to interactions with the students, you need to think about the students. And if you're a student, you need to think about the professors. I have a lot of students who used to tell me when they come to my first class, which is one of the first classes in the Ph.D. program. I'm in the Ph.D. program because I'm a retired Air Force, 2-star general, and I want to get my Ph.D., so I'll do nothing when I retire. So I can get paid and do nothing, right? And so they don't understand what professors do, okay? Especially dissertation chairs, and how much time it takes me to review a 250-page dissertation.
Just a comment there. Fantastic.
Thank you.
I think that the model is wrong. The fact that there's this assumption that we we finish our PhD and then we become dissertation chairs, and so it goes on. But yeah, some of us are good researchers, some of us are good teachers.
Right.
Some of us should be suited to supervising, some of them aren't. Yeah, and so just a comment about
Right, I agree with you. What the comment is really, and I'm recording, so I'll repeat. The comment is that we are, some individuals don't have the right communication skill to really chair dissertations, and some do. Like teaching. We have, in my engineering school, I had an amazing professor who do amazing research in aerodynamics. That's my aerospace engineering. But he couldn't teach. We couldn't understand a word that he was saying. You know? So it's just he couldn't teach. You know, he's an amazing researcher, but when it comes to teaching, so that comes exactly to what you were saying. Yes, John.
That was really interesting.
Thank you.
And what I'd like to ask you is whether the current trend towards trying to get PhD students through within 3 years is actually sort of straitjacketing some of their development in terms of being good researchers.
Okay.
And generating a sort of identikit PhD thesis at the end of 3 years.
Absolutely, and I think the point that you're raising is a very important issue, the issue of the length of the PhD program and the push to make it shorter and quicker. Like I went through an MBA program with an MIS concentration, it took me 2.5 years. Today I think there is a breakfast MBA and you're done, is that right? Or I'm wrong? Well, the MBAs are, you know, the idea for the PhD is an issue. We need to understand that good research takes time on the student to conceptualize, understand, go through the process. I had exactly the same point of what you were saying with the student who is now in the process of finishing, where one of the committee members commented that it took 1.5 years for that student to go from proposal to getting close to finishing data collection. And he remembered himself going through 4 years of the same process. And he was telling me, I was foolish enough to go through that back then. Maybe I should have waited. He said, now it's shorter. But that's not the point. The point is to do a quality work. And I think what you're saying is that we as the advisors, the chairs of dissertation committees should go with the balance between the time issue and the quality issue. And I think the quality is very important. I care very much about the quality because at the end I tell my students, I sign on your dissertation, my signature is in ProQuest, in UMI, in the database central. When they search for all my students, they find your database. I don't want any Mickey Mouse dissertation there. Okay? That's the words that I tell my doctoral students, and they understand. So if we had, like this student, had to revise some of his analysis because the data did not work right, so we had to redo different analysis. So it will take him another 1.5 months or 2 months. That's the way it is. But we are the quality assurance here, I think. Yes.
This will have to be the last question.
Okay, sorry.
No, go ahead.
As a distance school, you probably don't run into this much, but many students that I meet, they're really perceived as related.
Okay, let's clarify.
Research environment.
Yeah.
Have you seen this approach and negotiate that issue?
Okay, couple of things. First of all, we're not a distance school when it comes to a PhD. Okay, our PhD students are flying in 4 times a year. Okay, so we're not really. I see my doctoral students 4 times a year. Okay, so they're coming in for Friday, Saturday, Sunday sessions, and I spend with them enough time, too much. But so they are local, but they are working professionals. Some of them are, like I said, they work in the military or government agencies, or you're going to have a doctoral student of ours here in a moment presenting when I'm done. They are not doing things outside the dissertation, if that's what you mean.
Well, many labs seem to rely on and place the highest emphasis on doing the lab's work rather than the students.
Correct, and they do a lot of research, grant research that is not directly related to their dissertation, but they do it to get paid for the dissertation. We don't do that per se, but I have a grant right now that I got one of my doctoral students to be involved, and it's not related to his dissertation, but it will happen. So it happens. Okay. Thank you so much.
You.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
And I'm sorry we have to pull things to an abrupt close, but time is a factor.